Hello, Booknerds. Welcome to the Booknerds Podcast. And it's an exciting time to be at the Booknerds. My name is Rohan. I'm the co founder at Booknerds. Of course, your host all the time, pestering you with a lot of content, of course, bookish. So today we are super excited. In fact, this book that we are going to talk about, let me show it to you first. It's called Equations. And there have been so many rave reviews about it. I was Googling about it, and I don't think so. There was any one publication or influencer who was not talking about it. First of all, let's welcome the author, Shivani Sibal. It's her debut. Congratulations, first of all, Shivani.
Thank you so much, Rohan. It's been a dream. It really has. I'm so grateful.
We are so lucky actually because this might be the first session you are doing online for the book, and it has been out for
Indeed,
one
it
and a
is.
half. Yeah.
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. And I'm yeah. I was hoping that people could get to know a little bit about the book before I started, prattling on and on about it to people.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, okay, let's talk about your writing, sort of, because this is your debut. I mean, in a debut book, you need to be extra careful. I mean, most of us know that. But receiving this kind of, applause and rave reviews, of course, there are some, bad reviews here and there. But tell us first about how you landed up here, because you were like, chilling in Delhi and nobody knew about this new author on the block. And suddenly, you are here and making a statement. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, one of I don't know which of your questions to address first, so I'm going to go in any order, right? Firstly, I feel a debut has less pressure because nobody has any expectations of you, right? So
Okay.
actually,
Okay.
I didn't tell anyone that I was writing,
Yeah.
because then
Yeah.
that prompts the question, how is it going to? Which honestly, any writer will tell you there's no answer. I spent a day staring at a screen. I spent a day
Yeah.
scrolling Instagram. I don't know what the answer to that is, right?
Yeah.
But having said that, I started writing 3 years ago,
Okay.
and I found it to be a very difficult thing to do initially because,
Yeah.
when you read about how other people write,
Yeah.
I wrote 500 words a day, I wrote 1,000 words a
Yeah.
day, it's intimidating. And then I got some very good advice to break it down into very, very small segments, which is how I kind of got done. I don't know where I lost you in your number of questions. So tell me if I didn't answer
No, no,
anything, okay?
this is completely fine. Because I mean, the process. Of course, you need
Hmm.
kind of structure around you to be a good writer. So tell us a little bit about the structure, and then of course we'll talk about the book in detail. And I have so many questions about that. The structure around you, was there enough support system? For example, the publishing process, the editing process, was that all sorted, or you sorted it along the way?
Honestly, when I first wrote, like I said, I hadn't spoken to anybody about it. So that
Okay.
time it was quite a lonely process, right?
Okay.
But when I
Yeah.
was through with a draft,
Yeah.
I actually showed it to my sister, who's also a publisher with another publishing company. And, for somebody who knows you so viscerally and yet knows the business, if
Yeah.
you know what I mean, she and I are two sides of a coin. We know each other
Right.
inside out. So when I
Yeah.
showed it to her, she's not going to tell me it's good if it's not, because she's going
Yeah.
to save me the entire world's giggles,
Yeah.
if you know what I
Yeah.
mean, if it isn't.
No, I
And
know. I know.
she kind of directed me very early in the process on how the story should go, what's working, what's not working. So
Right.
yes, I
Right.
did have a lot of support in that sense of somebody
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
knew what's going on, knows me, and is not scared to tell me when something's basically bad.
Right. I mean, especially it's so, I find it so interesting because once you have good beta readers around you, it works actually. And you get so much, good feedback. You have written the novel. Let's talk about the plot first. So
Yes.
I
Firstly,
have
I must
seen
say
this.
my readers are not beta readers, they're alpha readers, okay? They are like
Must be.
just
They must be alpha. I know
just
that.
to put
I
that
mean,
out there. Yeah.
I can't call your sister Beta. She will kill me. I
Yeah.
know her online, and I'm a fan of her work as well. So
Right. Yeah. So she is not a
great.
beta
So
reader. Yeah. Hmm.
surely she's going to kill us in the comments. Anyways, so
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wanted to say that let's talk about Aahan and Rajesh and this milieu in Delhi. Lutyens Delhi. A lot is happening. I was reading and I was engrossed. By the way, I'm just kind of I'm I was getting kicked away from the plot, and then sort of I was coming back into all of it. So tell us a little bit about the plot and how it was, kind of all comes together. Of course, without any spoilers.
Okay, so in short, I started writing when I first started the book, or even
Yeah,
years before I started the book, it was puckering in my head for a while.
yeah,
All
yeah,
I knew is that I wanted to write a story about two friends who are divided by class. I grew
yeah.
up in Delhi, and when I grew up, we were just told in the evening, go and play. When it gets dark, come back. And
Right,
there was no kind of pre-screening of our friends, if you know what I
right.
mean. Now there's a play
Yeah,
date, parents send. So, it was very
yeah,
much based on my own childhood experiences in Delhi.
right.
And when something is based in memory rather than
Yeah,
research, and I would say my book
yeah,
is based in memory,
yeah.
it has a non-linear quality to it, which is probably what
Right.
you're referring to.
Oh yes,
Um,
yes.
and when something is non-linear, there is a fear that it'll kind of go all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm a very kind of practical kind of person, and I need a beginning, middle, and end, not a word extra. That's just my
Okay.
personality. So I had to
Right.
bring that in somewhere. So I didn't want any loose ends, and I hope there aren't any.
Right. So you are
Yeah.
an organized and structured sort of person who needs everything sorted before you get on the table, writing. It's like that.
No, actually, as I said, I didn't know anything about the story. I used to wake up, I have young children, so it's a bit noisy in my house mostly.
Okay.
So I used to wake up very early in the morning to write.
Yeah.
And when I write, if I even look at another person, I can't write. Okay. So it's very, very challenging
Wow.
to have a time
Wow.
where I'm very easily distracted, goldfish in a bowl, right? So at that time in
Yeah.
the morning, there are no calls, there are no messages, there's no, people looking, talking, mixy chal rahi hai. You get the idea, right?
I
So
know.
I
I know.
would
I know.
go deep into my own memory.
Yeah.
And when I'm typing, I'm pounding out the words. Even I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
writing. I'm fly on the wall
Right.
in the room with the seconds. And obviously, later you
Yeah.
clean it up and you.
Yeah.
So there is a creative side in it, but it comes in me in a very structured way, if you know
Right.
what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. My follow-up question to that would be the third person narrative you have got, because while reading, it was kind of a very wholesome sort of experience. And of course, you mentioned, that the non-linear, treatment to the plot. I mean, it's kind of, keeps you on the toes, and it's interesting for a reader. I mean, especially for a reader who is a little bit mature. I mean, I would say that people who are just, of course, the people who are just starting, they would find it a little bit sort of perhaps challenging, I could say. But
Yeah.
I mean, readers like who have read like five odd novels, they would be do it easily. I mean, they would have a good time. So tell us about the, of course, the non-linearity is there, but the third person perspective, because in this you have so many characters. I mean, you have the choice, you're spoiled for choice.
So the thing was, I wanted this book to be like a photograph, where I'm not trying to put my own gyan and my own kind of,
Right.
biases on any character
Yeah.
because of my own upbringing and my own life.
Yeah.
I have to stay out of that sticky situation of having a particular perspective. Otherwise, it won't work, right? So I
Yes.
wanted to try and get in the shoes of each and every character. Now that would get
Yeah.
very confusing. So therefore, I
Yeah.
use the third person perspective so
Right.
that a reader can judge for themselves. I mean, what themes, what they're getting out of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the divide and, sort of great chasm between Ahan and Rajesh, because they are like poles apart in the social
Right.
strata. Then, in the novel, it gets kind of cringy at point at, even in the beginning, it gets kind of
I
cringy.
wanted you to cringe.
Yeah, I was like, what is happening? It was perhaps cringy because it happens a lot. This is like, this is us. I mean, this is India. And, so tell us a little bit about that, how realistic you wanted to make it, because it is like you can almost, touch and feel the experience.
So, the only real absolutely real character in this book is Delhi
Yeah.
itself,
Yeah.
because you can't fake that. People will
Right.
catch you out immediately.
Yeah.
So could
True.
all of these things have happened? Yes. Is
Yeah.
it satire? No. I literally would not be surprised if any of those things happened in Delhi. Like it
Right.
happens all the time. That's why you
Yeah.
find it realistic. However,
Yeah.
did it happen? No. Because for me, it's very easy to write about things I've seen, people I've met, and just kind of, thoda idhar udhar change the names and all.
Yeah.
But A, it's
Yeah.
pretty lazy. I mean, come on. And
It is. It
secondly,
is.
it is. And second, it's very unfair to those people who literally kill me, right? They are going to see me again and they'd be like, what is this? So
Yeah.
no, but
I
I
have
would
read too many.
say,
By the way, sorry to cut you off there, but I have
please.
read too many novels of late that are just people prying on
Ah,
being big
yeah.
boss.
And God knows, if somebody did it to me, I would not be happy. Is all I can tell you. Okay, so
True.
let me,
True. True.
let
True.
people
That
just sort of
happens.
be sensitive
That
about that.
happens.
But
Yeah.
but specifically to what you're saying about the difference in Rajesh and Ahan, one of the things I felt was when I was younger,
Yeah.
I didn't feel this kind of divide that I feel exists today. And again, for the reasons I said before, is that
Right.
people played with all different, you know, all kind, children of different backgrounds and things in the parks in the evenings.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't see that today
Yeah.
with my children and the children around me. And of course, there are
Yeah.
a number of reasons for that. And that's an entire debate about, somebody can say nahi abhi hota hai, somebody can say abhi nahi hota hai.
Oh,
But
yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
this book is from my personal perspective,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where it's coming from. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about the cover. And I noticed on your social media also, it is a lot of fun. The book cover is a lot of fun, and the title. You have to tell us what was the process like in the background. It's quite cliched, but the book cover is so good. I have to talk about it. There are no two ways
Okay,
about
so
it.
a shout out to HarperCollins and to Bonita Shrime and Trinankur Banerjee who you got the cover. Like I am the least artistic person you will meet ever. Like it's terrifying, really. But that's another story. The cover
But you
was
have a good taste. Your background is really good, and it has got books. So I don't know. I think you are
thank
underestimating
you.
yourself. Yes. Yeah.
I can always find good in things other people do, but
Yes.
in my
Yes.
own experience, yeah, I'm not being self-effacing here. I show you, But
Yes.
so
Yeah.
starting with the word with the title equations,
Yeah.
um, I knew that I wanted to write a book about two boys, like I said before,
Right.
and I knew the title would be equations because the main theme of the book is the
Yeah.
changing equations between the number of characters that you have earlier mentioned. That they start out a
Yeah.
certain place, they end the book in a certain place.
Yeah.
So that, and also I'm, pretty sort of straight thinking and straightforward, like I thought. So
Mm.
nothing very complicated and esoteric for me. And as for
Yeah.
the cover, in my head, I had this house of, the Delhi I grew up in, and all the things you
Mm.
see were literally in my head. And I was walking around my neighborhood, taking pictures of houses and things, and then kind
Oh.
of zapping them to uh, anyone who think it's your house. It's not. This is fictional. Okay, it's like, but just to give a sense, because of what I wanted. But they're
Yeah.
the ones who put it together so beautifully. Like I mean, obviously I had no hand in the artistic side of it. But yes,
Yeah.
this is what I want for the cover. Something pretty literal, actually, rather than
Right.
dreaming.
It is fun. It is fun. I mean, if it were on a bookshelf, I would pick it up. So it's always about art
That's what
for
we
me.
want. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have picked it up any day. It's quite. I like the watercolor sort of treatment. I mean, I love it. I have a thing for. Anyways, the language is so quirky. You have put in some slangs. You have put in a little bit of Hindi here and there. Um, of course, it gives authenticity. Was that the purpose? And tell us a little bit about whether you have plans about the Hindi translation also.
Okay. Where do I start? So the language, right? This is an Indian book in English for Indian readers, right? This is what it is at this moment.
Yeah.
Um, I looked at English as an Indian language for this book.
Right.
So a lot of the English you will see that will resonate with what I just said.
Right.
And also,
Right.
I try to translate things into English
Yeah.
And then I read it out to myself, which is something I do fairly often with a passage to
Mhm.
see what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
like there were marbles in my mouth. It didn't make sense. Like, I don't know what sweetmeats and puffed breads are. Like, I don't know. It didn't I don't know what it is, okay? I literally don't know what those things are. So I did
I
feel it
read
was
that word. I read sweetmeat somewhere in some book recently, and I don't want to name it. So now I don't want to name
I don't know what it is. But honestly, uh, you know, to those who, and I don't think that many passages that are purely in Hindi, maybe a few. So I tried
So
to
here and
work in
there.
English
Yeah.
sentences into that. So maybe those who
Yeah.
don't feel 100%, about Hindi, they'll
Right.
catch the gist of what is going on in those passages. But
Right.
I wanted to keep the language authentic for
Yeah.
the location, the play, for the setting.
Yeah. It did the job. And the translation thing, I wanted to ask you.
Yes, I would love to have a Hindi translation. Anyone willing to do it, you know where to find me. And if you
Yes.
don't,
And it deserves one. It deserves one. I think so.
I
Because
do think it'll work well in Hindi. I do.
yeah, great, great. So there are so many issues in the novel. I mean, I was just listing them out, and I was like, this can be a paragraph. Okay, so I just am mentioning three: marital abuse, infidelity, and social justice. Of course, that is the core. You could have easily written a 550, 600 page non-fiction, a Tharoor-esque, non-fiction, and it could have been successful, perhaps. Tell us why you chose this, device.
Firstly, fiction is fun. I am the boss. I can literally do what I want with my characters. What's not to like about that, right? So that's the
Yeah,
first
true.
part of it. The
Yeah,
second part is if I tell you, Rohan, I've written a book. It's about, well, I'll start listing them, but it'll get, long. Poverty,
yeah,
social justice, caste class,
yeah,
alcohol abuse, patriarchy, misogyny, you know,
yes.
and so on. I can probably miss
I'm
quite a few.
actually
Language
noticing.
divide. So, yeah, I missed quite a few, I'm sure.
Maybe.
I
It's
mean, would you want to
crazy.
read it? Let's be honest. Okay. Like, I
Yeah,
wanted to carry the weight of the themes lightly, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
here I wanted to put a story across where I'm not moralizing to people, ye hona chahiye, ye hona chahiye. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to put
yeah,
across a story that
yeah,
everybody could read, appreciate, and enjoy, pick
yeah.
up on the themes that interest or resonate with them,
Right.
or not. I mean,
Yeah,
just read it, see what you get out of it.
yeah,
Hopefully it'll make you
right.
think, and if not, that's fine too. I mean,
Yeah,
books at a point were
yeah,
entertainment. This seems,
right.
smartphone, this seems
True.
so long ago that we didn't have so many things competing for our
Yeah,
attention,
yeah,
that I also wanted a book that could be read in one or two sittings. Because what happens is, at least to me, and I'm, considering
yeah,
myself the lowest common denominator,
yeah,
I read something, I'm distracted by it, I get to something else, I come back, I've
yeah,
seen something on, I don't know, Instagram, whatever,
yeah.
and then I've lost my train of thought of where I was on that first book I was reading.
True. True.
So I was hoping to put something which can be kind of a complete story which somebody can read, not in too much sort of effort. Yeah.
Hey, it's a fast read actually. I could
Yes.
finish it within. I'm like I'm an average sort of. I have an average speed because I like to kind of I like to marinate the entire. I mean, it's a bad
Yeah, yeah,
reference,
sure.
but
Yeah. No, no,
so,
I got
so
it. You got the job done. Yeah.
I took my time. Even then, it was like I would give it 4 to 5 hours. So I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's a good time, I suppose. But the faster readers, I don't know. They'll give their feedback.
No, but as a
Uh,
debut novelist, I also felt I can only, presume on X amount of somebody's time, right? I rather they said
yeah,
at the end of it,
yeah,
write another book.
yeah,
I wish it
yeah.
was longer rather than please never do it again. It was too long. Okay. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah.
True. I
So
mean,
then
that's one feedback that you can get, of course, very quickly because a lot of,
mm,
I mean, it's pretty obvious, I think so. At this point of time, if you are writing something of 500 odd words, it's harder to consume. I mean, people have lesser time. I don't know why, but it's a fact now. So let me quote from the novel.
mm.
What they say
Excuse me.
about first impressions is true. They do set the tone of an equation, one that can only be undone with a change in circumstances. And I'm talking here about Ahan's mother and Nuria, and that sort of plot. And it was quite interesting, and it was tough for me to digest, to be honest. I mean, what was happening there, the interplay was quite complex. Would you like to talk about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is complex, but it's more common than you think, or probably as common as you think. Let me,
Okay.
let
Okay.
me rephrase that. Um,
Yeah.
I would say that one of the things I want to be conscious of, and I truly believe this, is I didn't want to cast Nuria as a vamp and Mr Sikand as a
Yeah.
victim, right?
Right.
Because I do think there are a number of factors in play here. And like you said, this scene is the only scene where they
Right.
actually exchange two words, but
Yeah.
they are constantly on each other's minds. They're constantly, in each other's
Yeah.
existence in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't want to say much more about that because, again, like I said, I
Yeah.
want the reader to think what they think of it.
Of course.
What
Yeah.
I think of it, I've already written down, right?
But I can say, I mean, I thought
Yeah,
that
go for it. Yeah.
that was a good choice because, as you said, the hero villain thing. I mean, that would have been an easier choice. But I'm glad that you were very objective about it and you were not judgmental. And that's something which has come up in many reviews also. I mean, I was
Right.
reading some reviews and that has come, although I tried to avoid them before the podcast, but I ended up
You
reading
couldn't
them.
resist. You couldn't
I
resist.
couldn't.
It happens. Yeah.
Anyway, but it was fun reading them. Let's talk about the editor-author camaraderie a little bit because I really wanted to know because sometimes some of the authors who are on the podcast, they say that the editor can be a little bit hard on them. I mean, it's sometimes they feel they are not fair. But what was your experience?
So, firstly, the fine this entire book with HarperCollins was through the
Yeah.
coronavirus pandemic. So,
Right.
unfortunately, I haven't gotten to face to face with my editor at HarperCollins
Yes.
and the other good people
Yes.
there.
Yes.
I would say editors should be hard because if you
Okay.
think your readers are not going to be hard on you, they are, and they should. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
like to me, I wouldn't want a reader, an editor being easy on me because
Yeah.
that shows a level of carelessness because there's always some level, some improvement that can be done. And the
Right.
second is when you're pushed, you improve.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, that's what I think in this, that you should hope that your editor is committed and involved enough in your
Yeah.
book to be hard on you.
So all the authors out there who are writing their first novel or perhaps their second, third, I don't know. But if somebody is saying something, kind of critical, I mean, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't worry about it. And that's true for reviewers as well. You can just take it with a pinch
So,
of salt.
let me just say that if you're looking for universal approval, don't put a book and, put it out there,
Yeah.
right? And if you're
Isn't
looking for
it true
universal
for art?
approval, don't. How's that in
It,
general? Okay, like,
it's true for all art, I suppose. I mean, you can't please everyone. Bala
some for likes, but yeah.
Subramaniam is asking. Yeah, Bala Subramaniam is asking. In the last 2 years, the best books from Indian authors are from female authors. And what is the second part? It seems this is an addition to this list.
Well, thank you, Bala. That's very kind
Yes,
of you.
yes.
Thank you.
So, do you feel, I mean, do you get time to read the contemporary authors to know what's going on, really? Do you get that time?
Let me begin with answering sort of what Bala said. And one of the
Yeah,
things I did in my book
yeah,
is I made the protagonists male. And for me, that was
yeah,
very challenging because, my father died when I was very young. I don't have a brother.
mm,
So I've
yeah,
grown up surrounded by women.
yeah.
And I don't know viscerally how men think. I just don't know. So I had to actually ask some men, do men think like this? I'm
You
serious,
don't
okay?
want to know,
So
actually.
I believe I'm happy. Yeah, I believe I'm better off not knowing. That's the answer I've gotten
Yes,
repeatedly. But to answer what Bala is saying, I don't look at books as being by male and female authors. I look for the ideas in them. So that may be
yes,
just me as a person. I know that that's probably not the correct
right.
answer, but yeah, there you have it.
Bala, get a copy and leave a review, and you'll get your answer. I suppose because it's of course the author. matters, but at the end of the day, it's the book. I mean,
And
we
it's
are
the
all,
idea. This is, yeah.
yeah. Sweta is asking why Indian youth should read this book. A tough question.
Okay. Why should Indian youth read this book? Because
Yes.
I am the oldest millennial alive. How's that? Okay. I am. I'm born in 1980, and my mother phoned me to
Yeah.
say, "Do you know you're a millennial?" I said,
Yes.
"I'm not," but it turns
Yes.
out I am. So
You
I'm
are.
hanging
You are.
on to youth with my fingernails. So please read it. Okay, how's that?
Let
Yeah.
I think this should be a T-shirt with the slogan, and I'll buy it. This
I,
should be a
I'm,
T-shirt.
I'm waiting for it in the mail, Rohan. Yeah.
Yes, yes, truly. So let's get back to the book. Of course, we'll take up more questions as we go.
Right.
In the book, there is a quote, and that troubled me a lot. So I wanted to mention it. I
Mm.
have different rules for my daughters and sons, and I'm very open about it, even to them. It
Yes.
is like the definition of patriarchal. And was it difficult to write? Because I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's very cringy.
So, I grew up in a very, very liberal atmosphere. Okay.
Yeah,
Having said that, I have not escaped patriarchy. Find me a girl or woman in India who has
yeah,
not faced patriarchy, right? Now, I
yeah,
am not judging my characters because they are a product of their time and their situation. And let's face it, each of us do what we can based on the set of options in front of us.
yeah.
So now, if I started writing about only woke comments, then again, you would not be deeply interested in
True.
reading my book, I assure you. And also, if you look at a theme like patriarchy, right? Like I said, it's all pervasive. So should I
Yeah,
just ignore it completely? Have you not heard this statement from millions of people? You probably have
right.
spoken to millions of people, if fair, but isn't it ubiquitous?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
So no, it
True.
wasn't. It wasn't difficult. It's out there. I mean, I think it's more difficult to face than write.
Right. I mean, it's like we said, we made a list on the podcast right now of all the issues that you have kind of, and uh, it's tough to ignore them. I mean, it's right there in front of you, and I'm glad that you didn't. You have, I mean, I wouldn't say a satirical take, but you have made some observations about Delhi's high society. Were you worried about kind of going overboard? Because I mean, you live there,
So
so
let me just put it like this. There is no satire. I have not gone overboard. All of this could happen. I think I've said this before. None of this is
yes,
satire.
yes, yeah,
It could be real. Um,
yeah,
as far as, going overboard, being judged, if you start writing a book to be liked and not be judged and be thought of, be as woke and be thought of as that,
yeah,
it's going to affect your work.
right.
It's like dance like no one's watching kind of analogy. Don't think of what curiously
Wow,
readers
yeah.
are going to think.
That's a good
Yeah.
one. That's a good one actually, because sometimes we are thinking too much. I mean, we are there's a filter right there, and we are just thinking and kind of censoring too much perhaps. So I
Yeah,
mean
don't.
that's good advice. That's a good advice right there. And
Mm,
okay, so there's a part in the novel where there is, Rajesh, goes overboard, drinks a little bit too much,
mm.
and that's an episode which was quite, I don't know, I didn't feel very comfortable about it. I was like, please don't do this, And so tell us a little bit about that, without too many sort of spoilers, but just touching
Okay, so the
upon that.
first thing is,
Yeah,
I didn't want this book to make you feel comfortable. I wanted
yeah.
you or any reader to think about the things that they are
You've
seeing
done
all
the
the time.
job. I was like, what is going
I
on?
didn't want comfort. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are a number of avenues for you to seek comfort on television shows and other things, but I didn't want, to be that person. As for
Right.
what, Rajesh went through, I think
Yeah.
these kind of casual humiliations are pretty standard, frankly.
Right.
And we don't think of them
Right.
at all because there is this divide, and it is because you do not consider the other person to have the same emotional
Right.
depth in life as you that you do
Right.
that. So yeah,
True.
without revealing any further
Oh yes, of course. So tell us a little bit. I'll go back to the reading part because it's so important for any author to kind of keep reading and evolving.
Hmm.
So are you getting time? Have you got a schedule? Kind of when you are not writing per se, you have a schedule like that.
So,
How?
unfortunately, the right answer would be to kind of rattle off a number of books I've read, but I
Yeah.
have personally faced severe reader's block since the pandemic.
Okay.
A lot of
Yeah.
people have found more time in the pandemic, but in my
Yeah.
case, my children are always at home now. Okay, so when I
Right.
have some time when they are not asking me,
Right.
something or the other, and literally it can be anything, then I just want to sit and stare at a wall. Okay,
Right.
that's what I want to do. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, no, I'm
I
not.
don't
I'm
blame you.
not
I
giving
don't
you the
blame
right
you. I
answer
don't
here,
blame
but
you.
yeah,
No,
I think
I
a
don't
lot of
blame you.
parents may agree with me here. Yeah,
Yeah, great. So, of course, my final question, and
right.
there are. I've had this discussion with some LitFest founders also, and many of them. I mean, I have discussed this with them. I feel that, of course, there are so many LitFests now. I mean, you have even mentioned JLF in the book at one point,
Right.
and
Shout out. Yeah.
so yes, that's there. That has
Hmm.
to be there. Anyways, so I would say that of course the litfests are there, but there is a huge need for book clubs to crop up across India for this, kind of reading culture to boom. I don't. That's my opinion. But
Right.
what do you feel about it? What the book club culture, like in the West, it encourages the entire ecosystem. So what do you feel about it?
So personally, and again, I think this session we called no right answers. Personally,
Yeah.
for me, reading is a solitary experience. Like I don't
Okay.
feel the need to, but
Okay.
should reading be encouraged? Absolutely. But if a book
Yeah.
club floats your boat, by all means, go ahead and do it. But for a lot of
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
a book for me is an
Yeah.
escape from the noise already in my life. It is not
Oh, right. Right.
for
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
personally an
Yeah.
opportunity to engage further with other humans. And for
Yeah.
others, sure, people are different. It is
Yeah.
great. Just keep
Yeah.
reading, whatever gets out done.
Yeah. In fact, somebody is saying that it was difficult to read during the lockdown. Uh, I mean,
Yes.
they feel that there was too much time, but it's quite tough. I mean, it has not been easy for people. Anyways, great talking to you, Shivani. We
That
of
was really
course give
fun. Thank you.
we have given a lot of sort of teasers to the readers, and I would encourage everyone to buy the book, of course. Leave your review on Shivani's Instagram and Facebook, and on Amazon, especially do it on Amazon because that counts for a
Loving it.
lot.
Thank you, Rohan.
Do that. And I'm not just saying it because she's on the podcast. Let me tell you, one of the finest novels to come out, especially in the last couple of years. And there's one more which I'm not mentioning on the podcast,
Thank
but
you.
I'll post in the
Thank you.
comments perhaps. And great having you. I hope for a lot of more exciting content coming uh, from you, and we are super thankful to you to be
Thank
on
you
the
so
book.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rohan. And thank you to viewers for their patience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care. All right. Have a nice evening.
Yeah.